Here, if you guys like to sing and hear your beautiful voices. No, it's not a evil. You had borrowed time, that was the first track. Play it again. Nah, it's like this. Steely eyes of us hungry people walk behind me, evil intent. Walk to the tower, while I stand alone, stripped of rank. Before them I'm sad. What do you do?
Hey people of EC, it's Andy Cloudy Mulder back with a haircut, beard again, and a gig review. Something I've not done before, a gig review that is. I've not actually been to a gig, certainly a metal gig, in, God, feels like a couple of years now. So I've decided to jump back in, and I've got a few tickets for a few events lined up, and I thought I would put together just a series and tell you what I thought about them, and if I can get some video footage or find some online of that actual gig, I'll share that as well. So as you can see from the little snippet at the start, I went to see Diamond Head in Edinburgh. This was 6th of October, actually, 6th of October. This is their Shout at the Devil tour, UK tour. The lineup, they're actually a five-piece when they record, with two guitarists, but for some reason there was only 4 members of the band that were playing on the night. So Andy Aberley is the second guitarist. I'm not sure why he wasn't touring with them, or whether he just missed that one show or not, but the lineup for the show was obviously Brian Tatler on the guitar. He's the only original member of Diamond Head left. Carl Wilcox on drums. He's been with them since 1991. Rasmus Bom Andersen, who's the singer. He's been with them for a couple of years now, and they had a new bass player that joined them just before this tour called Dean Ashton. They sounded really good, actually. I was surprised. The venue to me didn't look like somewhere that would sound good. There were a couple of support bands on, but I don't really remember their name. They weren't really my cup of tea. The first one was a local metal band, and the second was more of a hard rock band, but they were kind of very modern looking. Look, they spent a lot of time on their appearance, but not in a metal way. More like a bit like a hipster metal band. But the main event of the night was Diamond Head, and they certainly didn't disappoint. They played, as you can imagine, they played most of their classics: Shoot Out the Lights, Am I Evil, Helpless, Sucking My Love, Borrowed Time. To name but a few. They played for well over an hour. But this wasn't just like a greatest hits or a nostalgia show. The Shout of the Devil tour was to promote their latest album, self-titled album, funny enough, called Diamond Head, and they played 5 tracks from that as well. None of them I was actually familiar with, so I couldn't name them at the time, but the material sounded really good. It really fitted in with their earlier material. So lead vocalist Rasmus on vocals, his vocals were superb. He just sounded, he really fitted in with the classic songs, but he didn't sound like he was trying to be 80s Diamond Head. He kind of made them his own. He wasn't trying to mimic that earlier sound, and his vocal range was really good, and it's probably better. I think he was they made some sort of comment about it being about 32 years or so since the last time they played Edinburgh, and Rasmus had to make the comment that that was that was when he was born. So obviously a much younger chap than Rasmus and sorry, rather than Brian and Carl, but I think it would probably suited the band better. I think if they had a vocalist that was in his 50s, it just wouldn't have sounded as good. I think they probably would have struggled a little bit, certainly with the older ones and the maybe the higher notes or what have you. But he was a superb vocalist. I mean, you won't see from my clips because I don't. The sound didn't really pick up very good. I just took some video on my phone that I've included in this video. But I did find someone was there taping the whole show, and that's available on YouTube. So I'm going to put a link in there as well for anyone that's interested in seeing what the full set was or how they performed. But Brian Tatler, he was brilliant to watch. Clearly enjoys what he's doing still. It's just amazing to see how incredibly thin he is, but seems to have a lot of energy, and the way his fingers are moving up and down the guitar and the solos, and it looked effortless, but you know his fingers were a blur. It was just amazing to see. But the biggest surprise for me was just watching them set up. All the band just basically set up their own gear. No guitar tech for Tatler. He was there taping the cables to the floor, setting up his pedals or what have you, chatting to people in the audience while he was doing that. So it's a really small venue, and probably the biggest disappointment for me that it wasn't packed. It only seemed about half full. You know, there's an absolute legend in terms of new wave of British heavy metal and the heavy metal scene, and the influence that band had on so many other bands, quite famously. It was just a shame to see that it wasn't packed out, but it's kind of good when you're watching it because there's plenty of space, no obstructed view. Yeah, it was pretty good. It's also picked up some merchandise as well. Got the obligatory tour t-shirt, and on the back we have the Shout at the Devil Tour 2016, and you can see October 6th, Belle, Angelle, Edinburgh, UK. So that's kind of nice to have. I pick that up. And they're also selling various merchandise, digital copies of the album, CDs and vinyl as well. So I picked up a signed copy of the new album, which is pretty cool. What isn't so cool is the record itself is warped beyond playable. It was dark when I bought it at the merch table, so it was very difficult to see. But when I took it home, the needle's on a roller coaster ride. So I actually emailed the band at their website, and they responded really quickly, very apologetic, and they're going to send me out another copy. So I will have a second copy that I can pass on to somebody, if you know. If you don't mind that it's warped, maybe someone who knows how to flatten warp records. But I did listen to this online, and it really is a good album. There's some great tracks on here. It's not just trying to sound like old Diamond Head. I think trying to cash in. They've kind of thought about how they want to sound now, and I think they've stood the test of time well, and they've come up with a really, really good album. So I wouldn't just pick this up or recommend picking this up if you're a nostalgic Diamond Head fan. I'd say even if you've never heard Diamond Head before, this is a really good listen, and you know, thoroughly recommend it. So that's obviously really going to say about the gig. I want to keep it fairly short. I'm going to end with a couple more minutes of footage that I took. As I said, the sound isn't really great on it though, but as I mentioned, I did find a YouTube video where someone had more professionally recorded the whole thing, and I'm going to put a link onto that as well, so you can view that as well. I'll say a few more gigs coming up, so I'm going to do quick reviews of those as well, as and when the time comes. Thanks for watching. Catch you soon. Bye.